This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Know-How is brought to you by CacheFly.
This episode of Know-How is brought to you by DigitalOcean. Simple and fast cloud hosting built for developers. Deploy an SSD cloud server in 55 seconds. Try it today for free. Visit DigitalOcean.com, and once you sign up, be sure to enter the promo code KNOWHOW in the billing section to get your $10 credit. And by IT Pro TV. IT Pro TV is an easy, entertaining approach to online IT training. For a free 7-day trial and 30% off the life of your account, go to itpro.tv/knowhow and use the code KNOWHOW30. Today on Know-How,
continuing our podcasting series with how to choose your camera.
welcome to Know-How. It's the Twitch show where we build, bend, break, and upgrade. I'm Father Robert Balloser.
And I'm Bryan Burnett.
And for the next 30 to 45 minutes, we're going to be showing you some of the projects that we've been playing with so you can take them home and geek out on your own. Bryan, I noticed that you're kind of preoccupied with some sort of cubish device over there.
Yeah, I think the Loom Cube. We first saw this at NAB. We were showing this off, and it is really fun to play with, especially if you want to be Iron Man.
Oh, okay. You know, we're gonna put the cube away for a while. We'll bring it back out
Take it
for
away.
you, Bryan.
Get it away from me.
Right now, we got to do a show.
All right, fine.
All right. Specifically, we want to continue our Podcasting 101 series. You'll remember we started this at NAB.
Yep.
We took a look at some of the vendors who actually make equipment and software and services that a budding podcaster might want to use. Today, we wanted to take a look at cameras. Now, this is always a difficult discussion because for a lot of podcasters, in fact, for a lot of content creators, the camera choice is almost kind of a religious thing.
Yeah, definitely. There's a brand loyalty. You know, I think here at the studio we have a bunch of Canons around, and then the DSLR that I use is a Canon. But I know you use Panasonic.
I'm
Panasonic. You go all over the place.
Exactly. I use Panasonic. I bought this. This is the Ag Hmc 150. I've got two of these. I've got one of the 40s, and then I've also got a Panasonic field recorder that is fantastic because it has such small file sizes that we can take it to an event like NAB or CES, and instead of a daily take being 90 gigabytes, it's 10 gigabytes.
Right, and I mean, it all comes down to what you want to shoot. So if you're walking around a lot, you probably don't want a huge, camera rig, but if you want like more professional video work, you'll want to get a tripod and maybe something like this, or if you're doing a bunch of close-up shots for reviews and things like that, I would recommend DSLR, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, and what we want to do with this segment is we want to show you some of the lessons that we've learned over the years. Because again, we can't tell you what will be the perfect setup for you. Only you can determine that after looking at how much you have to spend, what you're actually going to be filming, and how long you want to store it, because that actually is important. We'll explain that in just a bit. However, you can take solace in the fact that you could always pick up something like the rig from Wooden Camera that we saw at NAB.
Yes.
Go back and watch the NAB special #2 if you want to find out what we're talking about. But it's the system of being able to take any camera along with any recorder and any lighting and any audio and just sort of put it all together. And that's really advanced over the last couple of years, whereas I used to have to buy a $300,000 camera rig. Now I can take this camera and that light and that mic and make myself the perfect rig that cost me less than, $1,000.
Well, who's the giant cartoon robot? Is it Voltron that comes together in all the different pieces and stuff?
Well, is that the good Voltron or the bad Voltron? Because the line Voltron was awesome. The vehicle Voltron was trash.
Well, if you're the one building it, I'd say the Lion one.
There we go.
Yeah. So that's what it reminds me of with the Wooden Camera stuff.
Yeah. All right, so let's kick it off by looking at, of course, sensor first, because anytime we're looking at cameras, we have to consider the sensors. Now, there are two types of sensors, chiefly, that are being used inside of cameras. There's CMOS and there's CCD. You don't need to know what they are, you just need to know what the characteristics are. CMOS started off as the super cheap way to get images.
Right. Isn't it the most common?
It is the most common because it is the cheapest to make and it's the cheapest to mass produce. CCD, which is charge-coupled device, is an incredibly sensitive sensor, but it's also expensive to make.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And so what we have is a CCD is more expensive, but it also is much better in low light. Super better in low light. I mean, anytime you have a camera that does well in low light, it is almost invariably going to be CCD.
Okay.
CMOS will give you a less expensive camera, and actually some of the newer CMOS technologies can get pretty dang close to CCD. So no longer can you across the board say that a CCD camera will be better than a CMOS, because it's now the sensors are kind of the same. You may lose some of the low light performance, but outdoors, a good CCD camera can perform just as good as a good CMOS camera.
Okay, that's good to know. And isn't it with CMOS, when it's taking a picture, it does it like line by line. So if you shake the camera really quickly, you get the cuts
you get
in
the rolling shutter.
Yeah,
you
the
get
rolling
the
shutter.
toward screen. And again, that's because when a charge coupled device is taking the picture, it's taking the whole picture. It's just boom, it's taking the image. Whereas a CMOS, it's like scanning. It's almost like actually it is exactly like one of those digital document scanners.
Exactly. Okay.
So if you put a lot of motion on a CMOS camera, you will get a little bit of that motion rip.
Well, and that's what we get on the quadcopters from the motor vibration, is you get that oscillating video because of that.
Which, the jello effect. Nobody likes that. You could clear that up with a CCD camera, but no one wants to put a CCD camera on a quadcopter, because that would be a really good way to break a couple $1,000.
No. I think I'll keep it cheaper, especially with my flying skills.
Right. All right, so let's back up. As we said, there are a few things you need to consider. The first thing you want to consider is money. Let's not beat around the bush. If you have a decent amount of money, you can get decent gear. If you don't have a decent amount of money, the last thing you want to do is to buy something super cheap that you'll have to rebuy in a couple of weeks or months because it just doesn't work for you anymore.
Okay. I'm going to say, if you're getting into podcasting, you're somewhere in between. Probably on the lower end, though.
Yeah. Probably on the lower end. So we're going to assume that the low end is like $300 to $500. We're going to assume that the mid-range is, let's say you're going to have about $1,000, and then up above that, $2,000 to $4,000. So you're going to choose where you're going to be. If you are in the low range, you are absolutely going to be looking at a CMOS camera. You will not be able to get a decent CCD camera. There are a couple that run down near that price range, but the problem is the way they get it down to that price range is they remove all the other features that you might want.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So the second thing, once we've considered budget, and that will come back up, is to look at what you're actually going to be doing. If you are just going to be podcasting to, say, YouTube Live or to Facebook's new live platform, you don't need this.
No,
this is crazy overkill.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, even Leo was just using his iPad for that, and it looked, if it's stationary and all you're doing is talking to a screen, I think like a mobile device might cut it for that sort of thing.
And this is actually one of the big differences between the last time we did sort of a Podcasting 101 episode, which was 2 years ago. And that is, when we talked about assembling a portable podcasting studio, it normally meant you brought a camera and you had maybe a laptop so that you could get the input from that camera and then streaming it out to the internet. You don't really have to do that. Our phones have advanced to the point where you can have the camera and the studio and the streaming box all in the same device. And for that, I hate to say this, but the best device is...
No, what? The selfie stick?
Super simple selfie stick.
Yeah.
Now, there are a couple of things you can do to these things. There are several devices that you'll get, and I'm not going to advocate for any of them because there are so many, that will plug into iOS or Android devices. And what they'll do is they'll give you like a real audio in. They plug into either the audio jack or they plug into the multifunction port, USB, Thunderbolt, whatever it's going to be. And they give you like a real mic input, which is what you want. If you're going to be broadcasting from one of these phones, please don't use the onboard microphone because it sounds like crap.
And I guess that's the first thing of podcasting is audio. So even we're talking about cameras right now, but it all comes back down to audio.
Yeah, and which is why we last time we did audio first. This time I want to do audio last because I still believe audio, good quality audio, is probably the most important thing that you can do for your podcast.
Absolutely.
Camera, you want a good camera, but you don't need to spend $10,000 on your cameras.
Exactly.
All right. Second thing you want to do is once again, we're looking at what we want to do. If you are just podcasting, then you can probably get by with this.
That's just a webcam, Padre.
This is just a webcam, but it's a really good webcam. This is a Logitech 920. We use them here at the studio. This is going to run you, I think we have a link for this, Alex. Yes, there we go. So it's, it's about $70. The nice thing about this is it has a hardware encoder inside of this.
So what does that help with?
It reduces the amount of CPU load your computer has to have. The other thing that I like about the 920 versus, say, like the 9000, which is what we used to use, is this has a standard tripod mount.
Ah, okay. So you could get one of these little guys.
Yeah, any tripod, but I kind of like this. What that means is, unlike the 9000, which was designed to be like put over the top of your monitor, you remember that, it has like a little leg.
It has the overhang,
Yeah, so it looks a lot like that. The 9000 looks like this, where it's designed to sit on top of your monitor and it has this lip that will hold it there.
Right.
This was sort of a recognition that, we'll still include that, but if you close this,
then you got a little tripod mount.
You've got a tripod mount and you're good to go.
Nice.
Yeah, so get this. We're going to give you some tips on how best to use this in a podcast, because how you line it up actually can determine how good your podcast is.
Okay.
Yeah. So this will be sub $100. That's a really good way to do it. If you're going to be doing nothing but podcasting from your desk, you really don't need much more.
No, those are all good options. I'd say the only thing to remember is to try and keep the camera not, either looking up at you, up your nose, or looking down. I think that's probably the most common thing we have to tell people when we Skype them, is that if you're using a laptop or something, to prop it up a little bit so that it's eye level. So it's not like you're just looking down at the camera or looking up.
Right. Oh, by the way, Alex C. in the chat room brings up a good point. The reason why I said 920 and the reason why we choose the 920 is because it has the hardware encoding. If you go into Amazon and you just look for Logitech camera, you may see the 910, which will be cheaper. There's a reason why it's cheaper. It doesn't have hardware encoding, which means it's going to load down the CPU on your computer.
All right, but say you have kind of a beast of a computer. Is it going to matter?
Not really, but the price difference is so minimal. Why not get the one with the hardware encoding?
Okay.
Yeah. Also, it reduces the amount of data that needs to travel along the USB bus. And it's a USB 2 device, not a USB 3. So yeah.
And especially if you're using that as your primary mic too, I'd imagine it might slow things down.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Cool.
All right. So let's take a step up. That's what you would do if you just were in the studio. In fact, I have like 5 of these in my studio in San Francisco.
I stole your old one,
You stole my old one.
I did.
And they hang from the ceiling, just like we have here at Twit, so that I can get angles wherever I need to, and I just sort of adjust. It's nice, but the problem is, what happens when I actually want to film something? We do a lot of pre-recorded videos on Know How.
Yes. Then I think you're going to have a different recommendation for that, because I don't know if you could use a webcam for that.
You can. It would look kind of ass.
And you'd have to play with the autofocus settings too. I mean, we've done it before, but if it's set to autofocus and you're moving an object in front of it, sometimes the webcam has issues focusing on that one thing.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
So it's like you have to set the focus before you move the webcam.
And we're going to go through that next week. So next week, we're going to show you some of the tips that, again, we've learned through years of doing Twit, how you set your Skype. And unfortunately, it's way, way easier if you're on a Windows box than if you're on a Mac box. Sorry about that. Actually, if you're on a Mac box, you have to buy an app in order to make it all work properly.
That's just sad.
That's sad. All right. But mid-range. So let's move up for that $100. So now we're saying sub $1,000. I actually think the best camera that you can get is a DSLR. You want to show them yours?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is actually, I think I got this when I first started working here. This is a Canon T3i. I think they're on the 6 now, maybe even beyond that. But for what I use it for, which is mostly product shots, or just taking photos, it works really well. But there are a few caveats. Like, I also have this. This is my little
for those
my little dolly.
Smooth shots.
It's good for the super smooth shots. The little rollerblade wheels work good for that when it's on a smooth surface. But more than that, it makes it easier for me to put it on. It's like a little tripod stand when I'm shooting for product shots and things. But what I did to kind of make this a better option for me when I'm doing my videos is that if you go back to I forget which Know How it was, but I put Magic Lantern on the SD card.
Yes.
And that gave me a lot of options that make the DSLR a lot easier to use as a primary video camera. So like you see here, it looks like there's little artifacts on the camera in the viewfinder, but that's actually one of the settings I have.
That's your focus assist.
So like this is definitely the lower end of Canon's line of DSLRs, and because of that, they leave out a lot of the software options that you would want if you were going to be doing video like this. But Magic Lantern gives you a bunch of options for focusing and zebras and stuff like that. And you can see the histogram in the top right corner right here. So there's a lot more options with Magic Lantern. But what you get with the DSLR is the like depth of field.
Yeah.
Like this is so in focus versus everything behind it. And that has to do with the lens and everything. But I just find that you get like a really crisp shot on a DSLR, but they're definitely a bit more finicky than if you were going to use something like this just to shoot video.
Big old monster.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I've always liked about DSLRs, and actually I will say the same thing about my current favorite for in-studio work, would be something like the Blackmagic micro studio cameras. They have a 1080p and a 4K camera, super small, super high quality, 13 stops of contrast.
Yeah.
Brightness.
I love everything Blackmagic.
They're about $1,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little pricier than these. The nice thing about a DSLR is you can actually get a decent one, especially if you're willing to buy used.
Yes.
For like $300, and you can get a fantastic one, and it has the advantage of having the removable lens. And as anyone who's done video or photography knows, having a good lens makes all the difference.
It does. I'm kind of cheap, and and I don't have a lot of money, so I don't have like a really nice lens. This is the kit lens I have with mine.
That's good because it means you can start with like the super cheap 28 to 50 lens that you buy for $50.
Right.
And then if your work demands it, and if you start running up against your hardware, you can replace the lens.
Yeah, and the more lenses you play with, the things that you can learn how to flatten an image with the lens or give it more depth and stuff like that. I was just setting up my little camera here, so it wasn't flopping around.
Now, we go from something like this. So again, this is sub $1,000. So you can completely set yourself up for under $1,000. If you're doing a podcast, that would give you enough money to buy a 920 camera, probably a little bit of a rig to hold it in the right place. And you could buy this so that you could shoot in the studio if you want to do close-ups, and you could actually take this out in the field.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Like it's small enough that I can throw this in my backpack, and if I want to take like high-res photos of something, I've got it for that. And then if I want to do close-ups of a product like out in the field, I use it for that. Like when I'm doing, there's actually an action cam that I'm supposed to be reviewing that it's supposed to be done sooner or later. But what I'll do is, I'll take the cam out into the field, record with that, and then I'll take the DSLR to take a photo of it, get some like B-roll of it, and then when I come back to the studio, I use my nice mic to like cover it with audio.
Yeah. Now, I should mention, however, though I like DSLRs, though I like things like the Blackmagic micro studio cameras, they're not as convenient as an all-in-one dedicated field camera. If you're going to be doing a lot of field work, what you would typically do if you have a DSLR like this is you would have a separate device for recording sound, because you're going to want XLR in. So it's something like the Zoom X4N, which is hugely popular. You would mount it next to it on your little wooden camera rig, along with a light, and maybe what a lot of people do is they'll have a monitor, an actual like large monitor, so that they can see better than from just the swing out panel.
Oh no, the little swing out panel is almost garbage.
It is kind of useless.
If you're not within a couple of inches looking at the little screen on there, it's not, you can't see anything if I'm standing like at this distance.
Right. But I would say that is why once you get up above the $2,000 level, you can start looking at all-in-one cameras or more expensive cameras. Now this one is obsolete. They don't sell this anymore. Actually, I think, Alex, we have a link for this. This is the Panasonic Ag Hmc 150. I love this camera. I actually have two of them. It's discontinued, but you can still buy these for just over $1,000, probably about $1,100 to $1,200 if you're willing to either buy one of those open boxes or even a used camera.
Or refurbished.
Or refurbished. And actually, let's go and switch over the input so they can see what we get with the higher end camera. The first thing is, for field work, I love these kinds of cameras because they give me two dedicated XLR inputs. Actually, if you go to the side here, Alex.
Right.
So these right here give me the ability to get professional XLR, so balanced microphones, be it corded or wireless. And it also gives me controls for everything. So I've got a ring For focus, I've got a ring that lets me control zoom. I've got a ring down here that lets me control iris. So I can go full automatic, I can go full manual. This is actually really important anytime you have a camera that has a lot of features. What you don't want one of these cameras where you have to go into the menu to access everything, where you have to like flip through. That's a pain in the butt. Even if it's a touchscreen, that's not a good field camera. I mean, it means you're going to miss a shot because you had to go into a menu to adjust your brightness.
Exactly, and you don't want to have to second guess to see if you're getting audio or not. So this, like, the screen on one of these cameras will have audio bars on here. Like my DSLR, I had to install that Magic Lantern software to get something like that.
And I will say, some of the cameras, like the Canon, I think this one actually, there's a breakout box that will give you 2 XLR connectors.
Yeah, that probably.
But you know, it's an add-on. What I like about this is the studio. Everything is contained in here. It will do phantom power from my mics. It will do 2 XLR connections. It has both a cold shoe and a hot shoe accessory that I can add on to it. If you go ahead and go to the camera view. So here, I have just the ability to manipulate anything the way that I want. I have full control over all the settings, from gain to iris to focus. I can
all at your fingertips. You don't have to go into a menu to switch all that.
Precisely, and you know, you can actually get really good depth of field with a camera like this because it allows you to say, okay, you know what, I don't want to have too much in focus behind you.
Right.
So I'll go to I'll open up the lens to decrease the depth of field, and then I'll focus in on you. That's the kind of fine tuning that you can do with a camera that has all the rings on the outside.
Well, and then one thing I think we've kind of overlooked is the zoom on it. Having that zoom, if you're in like an environment where you're walking around trying to get a shot and stuff like that.
Smash zoom.
Yeah, exactly. Wah!
Wah! Wah! Okay, no, let's not do that. That's
you're going to make and the audience is now sick. But having just that zoom button on the camera where you can easily with your fingers just slowly zoom or fast zoom.
Right.
Because if you're using a DSLR, it's a lot harder to do something like that.
Precisely. Now, the other thing that a camera like this will let you do is it will give you, unfortunately, it doesn't show. The histogram doesn't show up on the external.
Oh, okay.
It only shows up on the internal monitor, which is kind of a bummer. But the other thing I really like about this, and this is one of the things I wanted to talk about, storage on a device like this is so much better than the storage on a device like this.
This can only do 12 minutes before it overheats.
Precisely,
so.
And the files are actually pretty big.
They're huge, yeah.
So, like, how much is it per say 1 gig of storage? How much footage can you get in there?
Let's see. I think I have an 8 gig card, and I have filled it with 20-something minutes of footage.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas on this, 1 gig can be like a 15-minute interview.
Yeah. And then does it have multiple slots for like a backup card or anything on this
one? Doesn't need it. I mean, this 32 gigabyte card, I can record 1080p highest frame rate for about 4 hours.
Nice.
Which it's not just that it fits on the card, it's storage. I never throw anything away. I have footage dating back 20 years. And 20 years ago, I was filming on those DV cams.
Yeah.
And those files are huge.
Right.
So it's painful because I've got DV cam footage that takes up an entire array versus many, 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 many more hours in this format, which is AVC HD. And that's actually, I would suggest that. AVC HD is now the format to look for, or AVC HD Pro.
Okay. Yeah, these I think these are recorded in .movs. So they're pretty big.
Precisely. Yeah, and Alex C is mentioning any decent camera should be recording at 25 to 50 megabits per second. What's nice about this is variable, so it won't redraw the frame if it doesn't have to.
Oh, clever.
Which is why like an interview is so much less data.
The background's not changing.
The background's not changing
It's just
at
your mouth moving.
But this will do, I think, the low end is 5 megabits per second all the way up to like 40 megabits per second.
Nice. And what's the battery life on just one little battery right there?
This is the original battery that I got with this thing. So 8 years ago, I got one of these. Same battery, it's slightly less capacity, but this will run it for about 9 hours.
Yeah, see, on my DSLR, I'm lucky if I get an hour if I'm recording stuff.
And these swap out, so I can just, it takes me 10 seconds to pop out a battery and put in a new one.
Yeah, that's a lot easier.
Now, this is also a CCD device. In fact, this is a triple CCD device. It does one for red, one for blue, one for green, which gives me really good low light sensitivity. Also means that I don't have to bump the gain up so I don't get a lot of noise in the frame. You can get a current version of this from either Sony, Panasonic, or Canon. It's going to run you between $2,000 and $5,000. Which again is why I like this, because I still can get replacements for about $1,000. And for what I do, which is mostly interviews and then B-roll, I don't need a super professional camera.
No. Oh, cool. Yeah. And have you done, what's the audio like on this? I don't think, we always do external audio when we use these, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, the internal audio, I never use the internal audio from any camera. The only time I will use it is if I want to get some crowd noise.
Oh, okay, yeah, as a backup kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So those are some of the options that you can look at when you're getting a camera. Now remember, consider a few things. Consider how much money you have, consider what you're going to do with it, and then consider what are you going to do with the footage. Do you plan to hold on to it forever? Because if you do, you're going to want to shy away from a DSLR and probably over to something that does AVC HD. If you're only in studio, stay with a USB camera. If you're going to be in the studio plus a little bit in the field, consider a DSLR. But these are definite choices. These are options.
Yep. I mean, this is what we use, so.
Yeah. Oh, Brian, next up, there is a complimentary piece to using cameras. You know what that might be?
I have no idea. I really never know what you're going to do next.
Cameras don't really work well without light.
Unless it's a CCD, right?
Yeah. Well, well, there we go. So that's what we would look like without light.
Oh, I guess these Canons aren't good for this low light. Hello?
Well, next up, we're going to be taking a look at how you could add some light efficiently and inexpensively to your studio or your field space. But before we do that, let's go ahead and thank the first sponsor of this episode of Know How, and it's DigitalOcean. Now, DigitalOcean is a new way for you to consider getting on to the internet. What they do is they give you containers, what they call droplets. It's a self-contained software package that holds your server or your app or your website, your portfolio, whatever it may be, whatever it is that you want to get onto the internet. Now, with that droplet, you have the ability to move your server, your app, your great portfolio from place to place, from server to server, from location to location, all within the DigitalOcean network, which gives you ultimate flexibility in deploying your latest work. Now, DigitalOcean is used by over 600,000 developers, including Twit's Randall Schwartz, Aaron Newcomb, and myself. It lets you deploy and configure those droplets, those containers, via a streamlined control panel or a simple API. You get to choose your OS. You want to run Ubuntu, CentOS, Debian, Fedora, CoreOS, and FreeBSD? You can also select from one of the many pre-configured one-click install packages like Drupal, Docker, or Node.js. It lets you get up and running quickly, or you could use root access on servers running 100% SSDs and state-of-the-art data centers around the world to build the infrastructure exactly the way that you want. Super easy or super advanced? It's your call. DigitalOcean is also highly scalable. This is one of my favorite pieces. Because you're inside of this container, you can start off with, say, just one CPU and a couple of SSDs to get your website or your servers up and running. Once you know it's going to work, one click of a button and you get to move everything global, geo-locate it around the planet and open it up to the world. DigitalOcean also has an extremely active community, which is something that I really, really enjoy because it means that people come back. They want to represent the product that they've been using, which tells me that it's a product of quality. Finally, it's so easy to get started that you can deploy an SSD cloud server in as little as 55 seconds. Folks, you don't have any other reasons not to at least try DigitalOcean for your next online project. In fact, DigitalOcean has incredibly affordable and straightforward pricing with servers starting at just $5 a month. There's also hourly pricing available starting at less than a penny per hour. But we're going to make it so that you can get started today and deploy your SSD cloud server for free. Just visit DigitalOcean.com and create an account. Once you confirm your email and account information, go to the billing section and enter the promo code KNOWHOW for a free $10 credit. That's plenty to get started and explore what DigitalOcean can do for you. Again, that's DigitalOcean.com, DigitalOcean.com. And once you sign up, enter the code KNOWHOW in the billing section to get your $10 credit for free. DigitalOcean. The web awaits. And we thank DigitalOcean for their support of Know How. You're kind of enjoying that selfie stick a little bit.
A little more than I should be, actually, right now.
Yeah, you saw how selfie sticks are being banned from most of the world, right?
Yeah, no, actually, I was really surprised when I went on a trip to Disneyland and they have a sign banning, like they had to make a sign telling people don't put your selfie stick out when you're on a roller coaster. But I'm live streaming right now, Padre. I'm live streaming while we're live streaming on Twit.
Well, Brian, you know, we're not here to talk about you live streaming here on Twit on Know How. Instead, we want to take you back to NAB 2016. We actually had a chat with someone during our regular interview hours, not during the Know How special, who showed us a lighting project that Leo Laporte loves, that I really enjoyed, and that might save you your studio space.
There are a lot of innovations here at NAB 2016, but there's only one company that can put the power of light in the palm of your hand. I'm here with Mornay from LoomCube, who's going to explain why this is the next device for all you aspiring photographers and videographers. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Now, what is this ridiculously bright, ridiculously powerful lighting device?
This is called a LoomCube. It's a 1.5-inch cubed light that emits 1,500 lumens. You're able to control it via Bluetooth through your smartphones and actually control light remotely. So you can connect, we say 5, but actually up to 100 lights to your mobile smartphone device. And now you can literally put light where you've always wanted it.
What made you go smaller?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I used to be the head of business development and sales for a company called Nick Software. And we wrote an awesome little app out there called Snapseed. Got 10 million users in our first 3 months. And through all that, I got to make connections with the mobile photography companies, so Apple, Google, etc. And I noticed that all these small sensored products, or which I trademarked casual capture devices. These casual capture devices had an innate problem across the board, and that was lighting.
Right.
I saw in low light performance the GoPro, the iPhone, the Android, the Sony, just about every small sensor device out there was not performing well in low light. And it was actually over a inebriated discussion in Vegas that a very good friend of mine and I decided that we were just going to go ahead and tackle this. And of course, we went the route of Kickstarter. And boy, what a learning experience right there alone. We raised $250,000 in a month. Our goal was $56,000, and we achieved that in 68 hours. So we were like, okay, it's time to quit our jobs, and we've got a new company to work on. So we had some challenges throughout the year it took us to create the LoomCube, but we were, highly rewarded when we won Best Product at CES. Both as a first year as an idea, and then the next year as a product. I can put these cubes around my subject, and then look through the lens of my video camera, my regular DSLR, and I can then adjust the light to see what I'm getting, till I like it the way it is. So that light needs to be a little less, that one a little more, and then I'm able to then go ahead and control my entire shoot.
Let's geek out a little bit, because this is not just an LED light. This is a waterproof housing.
Right.
It's really designed to be a companion to something like a GoPro, but it's also light enough to carry on a quadcopter. So one of the amazing things is you've opened up an entirely new category of lighting products that can light places that you wouldn't get a typical light source into, or products that can go up into a quadcopter and give you a light source that 5 years ago would have cost you a $15,000 crane shot. Tell me, geek out on the specs with me.
All right, so 1,500 lumens, 6,000 Kelvin, daylight white balanced. We have a nice little Fresnel lens in there that most people don't know what that is. And we got the idea, of course, from lighthouses, but a Fresnel lens goes ahead and disperses the light a little bit so that we don't have any edges or any magenta or yellows.
That harsh light.
Yeah, it's a dialable, soft light. And it's, can be used professionally by photographers, videographers, but it can be used by consumers to take a selfie flash. It is honestly the world's most versatile light. It's waterproof to 100 feet, and it's more durable than the GoPro and the drones that carry it.
Right.
If the drone falls out of the sky or into the water or onto the concrete, this will be the only thing that still works.
Morna, thank you so very much for sharing your technology with us. Now, if they wanted to find out more about the Lume Cube, or if, say, they wanted to go to Amazon and buy one for under $80, where could they go?
Well, of course, you can go to Amazon. You can go to lumecube.com. That's LUMECUBE.com. And additionally, you can find us at B&H, Adorama, and distributed worldwide.
Now, I really, really like this. It's a cool little device. I love the fact that I can Bluetooth control it.
Yes.
But what I really like is all the accessories that they give you.
Or just the accessories that you could 3D print, too, if you wanted to attach it to certain stuff.
So here on the desk, we have some of the things that LumeCube sent to us. Of course, we've got the LumeCube, but for example, which one is this one? Yeah, this is the Action Cam mount. The cool thing about this is they actually have 2 mounts here. So I can put 2 Lume Cubes, and then it's got like a GoPro style mount
center,
here in the center. So I could have a single stick that's holding 2 lights and one of a GoPro in the middle.
I like that. And I think my favorite part of the video was when they have them attached to the drone and you can spotlight down.
It's so cool.
I just want to put like red and blue LEDs also on the drone and be like, citizen, stop where you are. We've got you in our sights.
This one's a good one too. This is their smartphone mount. So it's a selfie stick, basically. But it gives you a way to put your phone. So your phone goes into this slot and then the Lume Cube goes up top. So it gives you a nice way to get lighting on your selfie stick pictures.
That makes sense. And now that I'm selfie sticking right now, oop, I just went upside down.
There you go.
I could totally,
You
can
could
I
totally
put it
do that.
on right now?
Well, yeah, sure.
Let's try it.
Go ahead and put that on there. They also sent us a couple of their prototypes because, as you saw in the video, they've mounted these things to quadcopters, and they found that there's such a demand for that, they're actually manufacturing custom-made brackets to attach them to the bottom of Phantom 3 and Phantom 4s.
Well, I mean, I think the first thing I would do too is make a 3D printed custom mount so that I can use my GoPro suction mount, and then I can put it on my motorcycle and give it like fog lights or something.
I see, these are just 3D printed. They sent these to us. This one hooks up to a 4, this one hooks up to a 3, and they just attach to the legs.
That's cool.
Which is, and again,
oh yeah, that totally makes sense.
Right,
Yeah,
so
it's got
just
the
hooks into the
brackets.
leg, and then you've got the little bracket with a standard tripod mount. We are going to do a full review for this for next week, because I actually want to show people the different permutations that they can make.
Yeah.
And
they're durable though, right?
They're super durable.
Yeah, this
they're
thing feels
waterproof,
solid.
so you could drop it into the ocean if you want to.
Yeah, the housing is metal. It's got little rubber buttons. Is this to change the battery?
No, so go to the side view. This right here, that's actually the port where the USB charging port is. So you remove this,
okay.
and then you have access to the charger. And actually, I do want to show people this,
all
because
right,
people were
take it
asking
back.
about this because the color of the light looks a little bit bluish, and it is. It's daylight balanced, which
okay.
we're not in here.
Can you get filters for them?
You can kind of.
Yeah, put
I
over
was thinking about making a couple.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me
change the
cinch that up.
temperature.
There we go. So what I want to do now is show you what this looks like. Let's see, Alex, this should be coming back on. I just turned it back on. So, boom, and there we go. So this is what it looks like standard. I'm going to switch to auto really quickly. So if we wanted to use this, cover your eyes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Is it on
And
yet? No, it's not on yet.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
so
pretty bright.
actually here, you do look very blue. So what we would do, and you can do this on most cameras, I actually have the ability to set my my white balance level. Let me do that right now. If you could hold that card up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus in on it. Oh, I had to go to
Zoom. Enhance.
There we go.
Enhance. Zoom.
First of all, let me drop this down. There we go.
Oh, hello there.
Okay, now take it away. So now I've balanced for that. So the light looked really, really blue, but now you look pretty dang good.
Well, thank you.
There we
I
go.
appreciate that.
How about that?
That's a little brighter.
Yeah, so you do need a camera that you can balance against. You're also going to need some sort of, yeah, exactly. So that's what it looks like in the studio, but this is what it looks like through a balanced camera.
Right.
Yay.
But the background does look a little orange now.
Right. Okay, now that I'm done with blinding you, go ahead and put this on.
That hurt.
on your little camera over there. So while you install that, what I want to do is we're going to be moving on to the next part of the show, which is we do want to do some feedback. But before we get to the feedback, you know what we got to do?
Thank a sponsor.
We do. And that sponsor is one that I hold near and dear to my heart. It's IT Pro TV. Now, a lot of people have asked, because I started on Twit as sort of the enterprise guy, how do I get into enterprise? They want to try it, but they don't know if they should do an apprenticeship, should they do an internship, should they just go out and say, I'm an IT guy, please hire me? Well, you could do that, and actually that's kind of how I did it. I just learned on the job. I got next to really smart people and I asked them questions, but not everyone has that luxury. If you do want to get into IT, or if you're already in IT and you want to sharpen your skills, there's no better place than IT Pro TV. IT Pro TV is constantly giving you new material to learn and to stay up to date with your current technology certifications. IT Pro TV's high-quality video tutorials will not only keep your IT skills current, but they also bring you closer to achieving that new IT job that you've been working towards. They've got 1,000 hours of content and more than 30 hours of new courses that are added each week. You can stream their courses live and on demand worldwide to your Chromecast, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, or PC, plus learn on the go with your mobile device. If this sounds familiar, that's because the folks behind IT Pro TV are fans of Twit. And they actually came in here before they started their network to look at how we set up the brick house. They use the same TriCaster, they use the same workflow, because they wanted to do something like Twit, but for enterprise geeks. Their courses right now include MTA networking fundamentals, cryptography, Cisco ASA firewalls, Linux Plus, SSH, CCNP security, Python programming, SharePoint 2016, and more. They also give you 100+ step-by-step virtual machine labs and transcender practice exams, which is a $109 value. You get all this for one low monthly subscription rate with no hassle cancellation. So if you want to quit, they don't make you jump through hoops like a certain ISP does. Instead, they say, we're sorry to see you go, and there you are. You're done. Now, transcripts let you follow from start to finish or jump right to any part of the video. This is important because if you are a current IT person and you just need to have something referenced, well, they've got the transcript for you to jump right to the part of the video that you need to watch. Corporate and group pricing is also available, and their clients include Harvard, MIT, UCSD, Stanford, and more. If they trust IT Pro TV to keep their people current on IT knowledge, don't you think you should too? Here's what we want you to do. We want you to check out itpro.tv/knowhow and upgrade your brain with the most popular IT certifications. Premium subscriptions are normally $57 a month or $570 per year, but we've got a special offer. Try it free, gratis, for nothing for 7 days when you sign up using our code KNOWHOW30 to check out their courses, their live stream, and more. You'll also receive 30% off the lifetime of your account. That's less than $40 per month or $399 for the entire year. Just visit itpro.tv/knowhow. That's itpro.tv/knowhow. Use the code KNOWHOW30 and try it free for 7 days, plus save 30% off the life of your account. It's your world, your IT today. And we thank IT Pro for their support of Know-How. Hey, Bryan, are you done playing with that camera yet?
Well, I've discovered a problem with the selfie stick and the Luma Cube, and it's...
Yeah, the problem is super cheap selfie stick and not so cheap light.
Or I could have just mounted it on the bottom instead of the top, but I know I'm apologizing to the people who were periscoping because it's a roller coaster ride. I'm gonna have to end it.
Okay, can we move on?
I'm gonna work on my
okay now?
on my live streaming next time.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to some questions. We've got some decent feedback. What do we got first, Bryan?
All right, this first one comes from William, and he asks, I want to buy an HDMI cable to connect my laptop to an external monitor. I noticed that most of the cables listed on Amazon include Ethernet. Will I have a problem if I use one of these cables to only use an external monitor with my laptop?
Actually, this is a question that I get more often than you might think, because people want to know if they can use one of those Amazon cables that maybe has HDMI plus Ethernet or HDMI CEC, which allows me to connect my various devices so I can use one remote control. And the bottom line is, doesn't matter. Any of those additional features that they've added on are in addition to standard HDMI. So if he
Okay.
buys that Amazon cable,
It'll still work like a regular HDMI cable.
it'll still work. The only thing is that it's not going to support Ethernet. Unless the port has Ethernet built into it, it's not like you can just plug in an HDMI Ethernet and have Ethernet.
I wish.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah. It will do 720p. It will do 1080i. However, unless you've got those Ethernet HDMI compatible devices, again, it's just going to act as an HDMI device. Which leads me to another thing. If you go to the cable, the first link there, Alex, this is the cable that he was looking at. Amazon Basics. Not bad. It's $6. You get a 3-feet 2-pack for $6. But you're also getting that Ethernet channel, which you're not using. And I've actually we here at the studio have not had great experiences with the Amazon cables. Some of them are just a little bit out of spec, which is enough to throw off something like our TriCaster.
Right, or the Blackmagic boxes that we use or something.
What we've actually had a lot of success with, believe it or not, are super crazy cheap cables from Monoprice. If you go ahead and go to that link there, you can get these all the way from sub $2 up to $100, depending on how long you want it. But the nice thing about the Select series from Monoprice is that they're going to be very inexpensive. I've used them forever. They're incredibly durable, and most of them will actually support 4K just fine. You won't even get syncing problems.
No, that's pretty cool. But I always thought Monster cables were the ones to get, right?
Well, because you need the gold. Because
Right,
you
you
have
gotta have
gold,
the gold.
I mean, because the picture as it goes through the cable, it feels special if it's in gold. Right?
I feel like a king as I'm being transported along this cable.
I promised myself I wouldn't make fun of Monster anymore.
Oh, why have you done
Promise
that in the
broken.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so bottom line, go ahead and get yourself the super cheap cables. They'll work just fine for you, especially at the lengths that you're looking for.
Cool.
Right.
Should we move on to the next question?
move.
All right, this one comes from Travis. He asks, new day, new quadcopter problem for me. Got my 450 all together and ready to go. Put the props on in preparation for the first flight. And one prop nuts just pulls off the motor. I don't think I'll be flying with that. I had a really cheaped out on the motors with this one. So for the 450 millimeter frame, running 10-inch or 11-inch props on a 3-cell battery, what would you all recommend for motors?
Okay, so first of all, don't cheap out on motors because those are the things that are holding your quadcopter in the air.
I was gonna say the motors are probably the last thing you want to cheap out on your quad. But what else would you cheap out on? Like the frame? I don't know.
The thing is, the difference between a super cheap motor and an
a decent
inexpensive
motor?
but good motor
Right.
is like $5 a motor.
'Cause I
Spend
think-
the $20.
Yeah, I think the ones we usually get off of Ready to Fly Quad are like $10 a
super
piece
cheap.
or something
They're
like that.
Super cheap. And actually, I would suggest Ready to Fly has some decent ones, but I've also had really, really good luck with the Emax series. And you can buy those on Amazon and you can buy them on eBay.
And you've got some Emax right here.
I do. I have 2 sets of Emax that I would suggest to you. This one here, these are the Emax 2213. Now this is the version of the motor that we've used on our Alien X.
Well, you gotta know it's good because it's the Grand
Well,
Turbo.
I mean, anything that has turbo in the name, I've learned is
And
like
what does it say?
really, really good.
Just for professional.
Just for the professionals. So this is the, if you go to the side view, Alex, this is the 2213 motor. It's a 935 kV, which again means that for every volt I give it, it's 935 revolutions per minute.
Okay.
Right? Second. Something like, I'm sorry, I forget. It just, that's how fast it revolves per
It goes
per volt.
fast.
Yeah. Now this, right next to it, this is the 2216. Actually, let's open these up so that we can get a nice comparison. It's made by the same company, but you will notice a few differences. First of all, the 2216 is bigger. The windings are actually bigger. Also, this has an integrated spindle on it, so that's part of the housing, part of the bell. Whereas this uses an additional mount on, which gives me more options as far as what kind of prop I use.
Oh,
You see that?
okay, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a spindle here on this one. There's not on this one. So I can use any adapter to put either a top like this. Some have direct bolt propellers. It's
This
there's
one,
more options.
This makes me feel less secure though. Like, I guess I just haven't seen a prop with the proper adapter, but...
Well, yes, because the adapter is right there. So if I want to turn it into a standard, it just clamps over the top.
Okay.
Now, there are a few differences in here. The first is that they're slightly different in price. You're going to get 4 of the 2213s for about $50. Right. $45 to $50 is typically the price range that you're looking at. Now, if you go to the 2216, Alex, if you go to the next one, then these are on eBay, they're more expensive. It's about $60 for 4 of them. And I've seen it down from 55 all the way up to 65. So you're talking about a $10 difference.
Okay.
And this is where that difference comes into play.
Right.
Because the 2216 is at 810 kV versus the 2213, which is a 935 kV. That means that if you're running 10-inch props, which is what I would run on both of them, at 3S, so at the lower voltage, a 3-cell battery, this will actually generate more thrust than the 2216. But at 4S, the 2216 develops way more thrust. In fact, I think they've got the measures on the back. Yeah. So on the 2213 at 3S, I'm going to be generating. Actually, the label's busted off on that one. On 3S, I'm going to be generating about 850 grams of thrust. But if I move up to 4S, I actually get less. I get about 750 grams of thrust.
Okay.
On this one, on 3S, I'm going to be generating 670 grams, which is less than the 2213. But once I move up to a 4S battery, I generate 950 grams, which is way more than the 2213. So,
but Travis didn't say if he was flying 3S or 4S.
Well, he's got a 3S right now, but I'm sure his system is capable of 4S. So Travis, that's what it comes down to. If you want to fly 3S and that's all you want to fly, go with the 2213. If you're thinking about flying a 4S battery, go with the 2216.
Cool.
Right. Next one, what do we got?
All right, the next one, I need you to scroll down so I can read it, is from Joe, and he asks 2 questions, it looks like. 1, does anyone know the value of the 2 variable resistors on Father Balliser's Arduino project board? And 2, what is the backboard that, I'm just going to say Padre, who's Father Balliser? Backboard that Padre is using to mount his Arduino and breadboard. I have tried searching the community for this information, and I'm not having any luck. And also, why is Cranky Hippo such a diva?
You totally wrote that. That was in there.
Was that in there?
That was in there.
Because I am, Joe.
No, he edited it later. So he took it out.
Wait a minute.
That
wasn't in there.
I made you read it,
nice,
though. So.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, all right.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
This is actually very simple. These are the potentiometers that I'm using. If you go to the side view, super simple. They include the knob. They include a washer. They're actually really, really nice. If you go to that link, Alex, the eBay link, these are the actual ones I used. It was a pack of 8. It cost me about $7 with free shipping. So buy yourself a bunch of these because these are always useful. And the nice thing about this is, and you've seen this on my little Arduino
goggles?
model, the one that I created, they fit perfectly into the breadboard.
Oh, right.
You just bend them over and hot glue them, and
it's perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, pick yourself up a couple of those. $7, not that expensive at all. As far as the backboard, it was just a 3D printed thing I did. This is it right here.
Nothing too complicated here.
Super easy. And I got this. So this part was the actual design of an Arduino. I got that off of Thingiverse. And I just cut it down to make my size, what I wanted. And then I added a little platform where I could put on the breadboard. This STL file is now available. If you go to our show notes, you'll be able to download this, and you'll also be able to get the link for the potentiometers.
Right. You could probably build that out of something, too.
Yeah.
You don't have to have it 3D printed.
Super simple, but the whole idea, of course, is to give yourself sort of a development area.
Right.
Easy access to potentiometers, which I always use. A nice place to hold in the Arduino so that it's not just on a desk somewhere.
Yeah.
And the breadboard.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Was there any other questions?
No,
or is that the end?
that's a full show, Brian.
That went by quick.
It did. But you know what we need to do? We need
What's
to
that?
tell them where they can go to find all the notes from this show.
That's right, because we did list a lot of stuff off today. So if you want to go back, check the notes, see what cameras we were talking about, if you want to figure out what webcam we were discussing, you want to go to twit.tv/KH. And not only will you find all the links for the things that we talked about today, but you'll there's also available downloads, small, medium, large. You could do the audio.
Super large.
Super large. We should have a super large download.
It's just like the raw file. It's everything. Just put it all in there.
It's like 60 gigs. But go there, download. I need to go back and edit those. See, I copied it straight from the doc, and I think it carried over the table.
I kind of like the table. It makes it look sexy.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay,
also,
I'll leave it.
I should let you know, I've heard your voices, and I know that you're upset about our show notes and how hard it is to find episodes.
No, it's not.
So what I've actually decided to do is I used to have a site called The Text Top. That I ran before I came over to Twit.
Right.
I'm actually going to start formatting a lot of our bits, a lot of our episodes, and a lot of our segments, pulling from our YouTube channel and from the Twit TV site, so that you'll be able to find all of our show notes much easier. You'll be able to search through them and find individual projects.
We should probably just make a know-how about that.
Yeah, that's basically what it's going to be. It's
about
just a
parsing
know-how page.
website data
Yeah.
and then filtering it. Okay, next show.
It takes a lot of time, but I
Yeah.
will do it because you deserve it. And I think you're right. You know, we've got a lot of golden episodes in Know How's run that are just really hard to find.
It's just the way things are right now. But we'll work on it.
We'll work on it. Also, while we're working on it, we want you to drop by the Know How Google Plus page. Just go to Google Plus and look for Know How. We've got over 10,000 members. A great place for you to be if you want to ask questions, if you want to answer questions, or if you just want to show off. We love when you send us your videos and your pictures.
we love it.
We use them on the program. So please go
Yes.
join the group, ask your questions, post your project pictures, and we'll get you into the show.
That's right. You want to be a diva? Post your project there and prove it. But that's not the only place you can find us. If you want to see if I'm live streaming during a show that we're live streaming, you want to go to Twitter.
So meta.
It's so meta. I am at cranky_hippo.
And I am at Padre SJ. And also, we've got a third member of our team. You don't see him much, but he's incredibly important. He's the one who makes sure that we're on time, the one who pushes all our buttons. It is Bill.
Hey, Padre.
Yeah?
Why don't you tell me what shot to hit?
Go to the top shot, Alex. Can you go to the top shot? Okay, go back to the single, Alex. Did you go back to single? Okay. We had a discussion about this, actually. We might need to have a meeting, but you kind of boss Alex around a lot. Yeah.
Well, who's Alex? I thought his name was Jim.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of someone else.
Well, follow Jim on Twitter at twitter.com/ANELF3, and he'll be sure to answer all your questions about
And
what
push
goes
your
on
buttons.
behind the scenes.
He's a button pusher.
Yeah.
Padre, it's pronounced Alex.
Oh.
Not ringing a bell. Sorry.
No.
Yeah. Until next time, I'm Father Robert Balaser.
I'm Bryan Burnett.
And now that you know how,
Go podcasting.